7:16, and joining me on the Newsmaker Hotline, Dale Matthews, BatCounty.com. How you doing this morning, Dale? Welcome back.
I don't think I'm the newsmaker, but yes, I'm here to report the news.
Okay, very good. Now, you keep an eye on what's happening with Josephine County, and economic development is back on the radar again. And, of course, anytime I hear about economic development in Josephine County, danger, danger, okay? We're going to be talking about some interesting turns of events. So, what happened the other day with between the Grants Pass City Council and then the Josephine County Commission? It's a very interesting story here.
Well, Cheryl Walker was identified by Grants Pass City officials as the source of a big lie. But she doesn't blame them, and she doesn't blame the Daily Courier for printing the lie without researching it first. Mm-hmm. No, she blames us.
Okay, so take it back to the beginning of where the supposed lie started.
Both the city and the county have decided that Cheryl Walker will no longer be in charge of economic development for Josephine County, even though she's been fighting all comers for 3 years, saying, no, I'm handling this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's been pretty much her raison d'etre.
That's right. She had that for breakfast. So when people have tried to, when Simon Hare, for example, tried to say, well, let me work on this too. No, I'm going to do it. So she's now decided that we're going to team with the city, with Grants Pass City, and we're going to employ an outside firm that's going to know best for us what we ought to do to be prosperous into the future.
Okay, it might not be the worst idea I've heard come down the pike, and find out, a fresh set of eyes that would take a look at what's happening in Grants Pass and Josephine County, take a look at the assets and the kind of people that we have around here, and find out what would work potentially, right?
I would think also that Simon Hare probably welcomes the change, because he's made that clear that he'd like to see a change in the leadership of this after 3 years of it.
Kind of a shot across Cheryl Walker's bow, right?
Just a little bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so she got together with some city officials, and they picked a firm called Eco Northwest.
Wait a minute. Is that eco as in like eco green freak, or eco as in economy?
Well, I leave it up to you. I'm not identifying them as being this, that, or the other thing, but one of their big clients, as was pointed out by one of the city councilors, was the Sierra Club.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
But they...
Well, just because they have Sierra Club as a client doesn't necessarily mean they're just all gangrene. Now, not that there's anything wrong with some green policies, okay? Please, I know I'm giving you a lot of qualifiers here, but all right. So we have Eco Northwest, and what happened then?
So they had this vote in the city council, in the Grants Pass City Council, saying, well, what do you think about this? Let's move ahead. And it looked like it was a done deal. And then a couple of the councilors said, now, wait a minute, I'm not sure we want to go through this, and here's why. We're not sure of the background of these guys. And they're saying in one of these reports, it looks like they're saying that the timber may not be part of the future, and we need to look to other things. And that may or may not be true, but it kind of irritated them.
Okay, I can understand them being a little irritated, because I would think that in Josephine County and Grants Pass, you would want to be open to all potential economic work, even if it means going back to that nasty old timber industry in certain cases. So there's enough room for everyone, right?
Quite right. And that was pointed out as the argument in favor of picking a firm, even if it did have some kind of bias. What's wrong with a little bias every once in a while kind of reasoning? Mm-hmm. And so the counselor said, well, we'd like to do some more research. Hello, we'd like to do some more research.
Hey, I'm good with that. That sounds like it's a smart way to go.
Well, unfortunately for them, one of the fellows that had teamed up with Cheryl Walker to pick this firm quickly makes a motion to say, well, I move that we adopt the plan. See, they were just too slow. What they needed to do was snap out of it and make a motion to table it. But they didn't do it quickly enough.
Okay.
So it heads down toward a vote. And they're evenly split on this. And the mayor comes in, instead of saying, there's a lot of questions about this. No, he comes in, breaks the tie, and boom, now we're going to work with Eco Northwest.
Okay. Wait
a minute.
Okay, so where does then Cheryl Walker come into this mix again when it comes to the Josephine County Commissioners, a little bit higher in the food chain?
Well, one of the things that was sure to have influenced their vote was the councilors were told by the city manager of Grants Pass, oh, by the way, our partner, the county, has already approved this deal.
Okay, now I'm going to ask, I'm hoping this is not an insensitive question.
Uh-huh.
Did Josephine County, in an open session, did the county commissioners actually approve Eco Northwest for the economic development partner? Did they really think, did they do this? All right.
Good question, Bill. Now, would you think that their legal counsel for the city, or their city manager, or the reporter from the Courier, who afterwards reported that that was a done deal, do you think that anybody in that room, except for me, would say, hey, wait a minute? Nope, nobody.
Sound of crickets. All right, so what this would then seem to indicate, now, I'm going to put on my little tinfoil conspiracy hat here once again, that either Cheryl Walker told these people that that was something just untrue, that the county hadn't really approved it, or else the county commissioners are talking with one another outside of school and said, oh, yeah, we'll go for this. In that case, that's a violation of the meetings law, making decisions without being in an open council session, correct?
Oh, they're continuing to do that, so you're not far off on that. No.
All right.
So what happened is the next morning, I saw the city manager and the assistant city manager in the hallway. They were coming in to brief for the first time the county commissioners on this plan.
So how could they be briefing the county commissioners on this plan that supposedly, according to the city manager, they had already approved?
Bill, let's you and I run for county commissioner. This is a really good question.
All right.
So I asked the fellows, I said, where did you get this false information? Well, we got it from Cheryl Walker.
Well, where did Cheryl Walker get the information?
She pulled that out of places we don't talk about on the radio. Okay.
All right. Well, I suppose it's not illegal to pull something out of that area and talk about it with the Grants Pass City Council.
Unsanitary.
Yeah, exactly.
Not illegal.
And it's probably not wise governance here, as it were. But all right. So now, if I know your dealings with government, with Josephine County and with Grants Pass, chances are, rather than addressing the fact that Cheryl Walker didn't really have the approval of the Josephine County commission to do this, they would probably say, let's go shoot Dale Matthews, the messenger.
That's right, because I came to next meeting the next day, which is the weekly business session, and I said, here's what happened. I already told the other two commissioners, separately, of course, not in a quorum. I told them about this, and their answer was, there was no answer. Okay, so I mentioned this in public. Well, she lights into me. She says, the city officials aren't to blame. Well, okay. The Daily Courier is not to blame for not checking this story out and putting it on the front page. No.
Well, who are we blaming then for?
Oh, we're blaming Dale Matthews and Bad County.
No, wait a minute. You were just raising the question. I mean, I saw the logical hole in the argument because you and I have talked about economic development there. We know that Josephine County had not gotten together and the commission had not approved Eco Northwest. So how did we get to the point where there hadn't been something approved, but then the word comes from one of the commissioners that somehow they had approved, and then they end up having the Eco Northwest proposal given to the county commission for the first time after the city of Grants Pass decides to go with Eco because they figured that Josephine County was already on board. Wait a minute. I'm trying to figure this out.
Well, it was a very close vote, and we don't know if that was the deciding factor, but in such a close vote, it certainly, if you know your partner has already okayed the thing, it should have some kind of effect. So her answer about why I was at fault, she said, all these things don't mean anything because Mr. Matthews plays his game of gossip in his own mind with the voices of his own head.
Now, Dale, there have been times I've not necessarily agreed with your tactics here, but you were talking about what actually is reality, what was discussed, what hasn't been discussed with the Josephine County Commission, and you were calling them on their bullshit.
That's correct.
Now, how does that get translated into the voices in your head?
Of my head. The gossip voices of my head.
Okay. All right. This is something that we need to find out a little bit more about because It would strike me that if Josephine County had approved Eco Northwest as their economic development partner, there would have been documentation, and they would have forwarded that to the Grants Pass City Council. Or am I wrong about that?
You would think that there would be some kind of confirmation of that, and once again, you would think that maybe a journalist sitting in the audience, a fellow journalist, would search for, I don't know, 2 sources for the story before putting it on the front page.
Yeah, sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. But,
well, we try not to do that.
All right, now let's be fair about this, though. Is there a possibility that someone on the city of Grants Pass, who told the city of Grants Pass once again that the county had signed on to it? Who actually told the council that?
Cheryl Walker told the city manager, who then repeated it to the council while they were deliberating about how to vote on it.
So the city manager then actually told the city council, though. The city manager
part of
told
this briefing.
This. Okay, all right, it's part of this briefing then. So perhaps really what it is that the city manager didn't double check.
No, apparently he didn't, did he?
Uh-huh. All right.
And they've got a highly paid city attorney.
Mm-hmm.
They got all this firepower in that room. You go and sit in any of these meetings, you're probably sitting there with $1 million worth of paid personnel.
Yeah, they're very high-powered legals here. But let me just put it this way then. And this is just a suspicion. I'm not saying that it is, but the part that concerns me is that if the Grants Pass Council ends up voting based on faulty information, shouldn't that vote be nullified and then reconsidered?
Oh, now let's you and I both run for city council, okay? I absolutely agree with you. Where is the outrage? They're going to go along with this. Even Simon Hare now says he's going to go along.
And Eco Northwest may be the best firm to help Josephine County work out. But it sounds, though, the problem is that if you're going to act on faulty information and you're going to vote based on what you think Josephine County is going to do when it hadn't officially done it yet, but yet it was being represented to you, it would seem that it's time to reopen it for further study and debate. That's all I would say.
Absolutely, sir.
All right.
Absolutely.
So you and I agree on that particular
Yeah, of course we do.
Point. All right. Dale Matthews is here with badcounty.com and, of course, a news reporting site out of Joe County, and they tend to just take the videos and throw them up there. You can agree or disagree, but there they are. Rika, you're with Dale. You had a question here or comment on Walker, Cheryl Walker.
Well, yes, I was in the meeting when she responded to Dale's comments. And what she said was she didn't say that the county had voted on it and passed it. They misunderstood, apparently, what she did say.
Well, there you go. There's your answer, and that's all you need to know.
Okay, well, misunderstanding. How could the county have been in favor of something officially that they hadn't voted on, though?
Oh, that's what I was saying. She didn't say that they had, so...
All right, well then, how would she know what the other two county commissioners, how they were going to vote on something that they hadn't addressed yet? In an open forum.
It is interesting.
Yeah, it's a worthy question. So, thanks for that. Dale,
thanks for explaining that, Rika.
Okay, I think what's really important and why this is something worthy of just paying attention to is that could there be a possibility of some greasing of the skids going on behind the scenes?
I tell you, I have a rule. I've mentioned this rule before on your show. Mm-hmm. Is it conspiracy or lunkheads? Always go with lunkheads.
Right. Lunkhead instead. All right. I just want to make sure because we know that there are big, powerful people sometimes that have friends in big, powerful places, and there's money to be made if deals get greased somehow or just spheres of influence and little bits of web and economic development, of course, with all the lottery funds, that slush fund. There's a lot of money there to play with, Dale.
And you also are well aware of another source of economic development advice that we have in our area. And a number of people were saying, now, wait a minute, don't we have a contract with another firm? Well, yeah, we do already, but what we need is we want somebody that's concentrating on the region, okay, and economic development, mm-hmm. You know, the Southern Oregon region, and economic development, and we don't have that.
But isn't that so ready?
Wouldn't you think so, since their name is Southern Oregon Regional Economic Development, Inc.?
All right, and from what I understand, did not Josephine County also sign a contract with Mark Von Holly?
They were going to.
Oh, they were going to. Did that not go through? Because I know
it didn't go through.
All right, it didn't go through in Jackson County either. Okay,
this guy had him. He had him going.
Okay.
They were all going to do it. Remember, this was the guy that was changing the contract at the last moment.
Well, I don't want to revisit that right now because he didn't get the gig with Jackson and Josephine County.
He was pretty upset with the report that was on this radio station that identified the things he was saying. All we did was just repeat what he was saying to the county commissioners, but they were all ready. They were ready to go, boy.
All right. This is something to pay attention to because it's important. We all want good economic development here for Jackson and Josephine County. Nothing wrong with this.
Nope.
But when you're going to get on the gangrene train, everybody get aboard, in which the only way that we can actually develop Southern Oregon is to just go to the eco way of doing things. That is something worthy of more discussion in open county commission and city council forum. Would you not agree?
Well, they had a meeting of the county yesterday, and it said on the meeting agenda that they were going to approve it in the little back room. They didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But they were going to approve it. It came up in the little back room. It was going to stay in the little back room. It wasn't going to go out in front of the public. But suddenly that thing was changed, and they decided not to. Okay, so it begs the question, how did they decide not to pursue that without talking to each other first?
Yeah, something tells me it's the little voices in your head that had something to do with that. All right. Dale, we'll just recommend people go, and you have the videos of these meetings posted on badcounty.com.
We do indeed, and I sent you a link to it as well. So.
All right. Thank you very much, Dale. We appreciate that, and good reporting up there, okay?
I'll keep them accountable, okay?
All right, and keep talking to the voices in your head and share it with me, okay?
And we'll have this meeting about running for commissioner, you and I.
Yep. Talk to you soon.
Goodbye, sir.
All right.